Well, hello there, everyone. Chris from 4th Shift Fitness. And before we get going in the episode, I have a little bit of housekeeping to do. We've chosen the IAFF Center of Excellence to be our charity that we're donating to in the month of April. So during Spring for Change, during our Mental Health Initiative month for our campaign, we're raising money through the Buy Me a Coffee button. It's on the 4th Shift Fitness website, 4thshiftfitness.com. And underneath the episodes, you'll see the episodes page, you'll see a Buy Me a Coffee button. Typically, that goes towards funding the show and actually buying coffee. This month, though, we're donating all the money to the IAFF Center of Excellence. It's a behavioral health facility, and right from their website, treatment for successful recovery from substance abuse, PTSD, and other co-occurring behavioral health issues. So if you want to check out their website, it's iaffrecoverycenter.com. So go to the 4th Shift Fitness website, click on that Buy Me a Coffee button, and donate. And thank you if you already have, and thank you if you're considering it. Okay, today's episode for Spring for Change is all about nutrition, talking with Annette again. And also, while we're at it, I am extremely sorry about the audio on this one. I'm extremely sorry about the audio on this one. We had some technical issues setting up, and at some point during that, my microphone got disconnected, so you're going to hear the computer audio from my side and then good audio for Annette's. Anyways, here's the episode. Let's go. Welcome to Tailboard Talk, a 4th Shift Fitcast. The mission of Tailboard Talk and the 4th Shift Fitness is to educate and train fire service personnel to increase durability and decrease the potential for injuries and their associated costs. My name is Chris Morella, owner and founder of 4th Shift Fitness. I'll use my experience as a personal trainer, strength coach, and 15-year veteran of the fire service to deliver tips, tricks, lessons, and information specifically geared towards the health and wellness of firefighters and paramedics. Each episode, you'll leave with immediate deliverables that will improve performance and resilience and keep you in the fight through your career and into retirement. Let's get into it. No, that's RX bar, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Where they list the ingredients.
I've never actually had one.
They're not, I mean, they're fine. What am I just saying? The perfect bar is basically, it's hard to describe because it's like it's as hard to describe as the old school power bar is, where it's like a solid, but it's not.
Oh, I like the old school power bars.
It's like that, but it's not as malleable, I suppose. So it feels soft, and then when you bite into it, it almost turns to it crumbles like dust. It's very strange, but it's basically frozen peanut butter, and it's got a decent amount of protein in it. I think 15 grams. I guess I could look it up if I really cared. But it's also got 20-ish to 25 grams of fat, I think. So it's amazing, but it's probably not the right choice after a workout. Or if you're carb heavy for the day, it's probably not the right choice. But it's just a general snack without eating for a couple hours around it. It's pretty good. Let me see. Perfect.
I have two questions. The first question is, did you hit record already?
Yeah.
Okay, good. And the second question is, have you ever made this tactical error? One time I was working a side gig at the fire department. I was at a festival, so I brought a cooler full of food. It was one of those traditional plastic, whatever, Coleman coolers. And I had sandwiches and lunch meat, whatever. I had it in there and an ice brick. And then I threw in a couple of Quest bars. Well, then I didn't take into account how very, very hard as steel they would be. I almost broke off a tooth on a Quest bar.
I don't think I've ever had a Quest bar.
Shut the front door.
I don't think so. I don't do many snacks, like snack bars. Or if I do, it's just the giant Costco box of them. And it's really inconsequential to me what they are because it's just a filler or not a placeholder, but okay, let's see. So the perfect bars it's 68 grams, so it's just a bar. It's like regular granola bar size, nothing special. A little bit, probably about the same as a Clif bar. And it's got 340 calories, 20 grams of fat, and 14 grams of protein, so it's pretty close. Number one ingredient is protein. Number one ingredient is peanut butter, and then it's got a bunch of other basically, it's got a bunch of decent stuff in there. Cashew butter, maple syrup, honey, rice protein, egg powder, vanilla, and a bunch of other stuff, sea salt, kale, flaxseed, rosehip, orange, lemon, papaya, tomato, apple, alfalfa, celery, dulse, carrot, spinach, flaxseed oil, sunflower oil, sesame seed oil, olive oil, pumpkin seed oil.
Oh my goodness. I love how they put, instead of just, sugar or whatever, it's maple syrup or whatever, or guava, whatever. It just makes you feel more self-righteous, doesn't it? Like, oh, I'm being healthy.
It very much does. Let's see, it has 27 grams of carbs, 19 grams of total sugars. It's pretty well balanced, but it doesn't mean it's good. But it tastes good, and it does the trick for a couple hours if I have to.
For sure. And here's the thing. I don't demonize sugar. I don't intentionally add sugar and I don't eat dessert, but I don't demonize it like some people do. Some people
Mm-hmm.
won't eat barbecue sauce because it has too much sugar. And I'm
Well,
like,
carrots are bad. Carrots have too much sugar in them.
right? And peas, don't eat peas.
No,
But
peas are
yeah,
very bad for you.
yeah. Hello, it's a vegetable. Eat it and shut up. That's what I say.
A sugar vegetable. Yeah, I don't know, it's goofy. That's the thing is, I know this was the thing with muscle milk too, I think, when it was hot. Like, muscle milk has a lot of fat in it, and it's still fine for post workout, but it's probably not the best thing. But
Right.
it's, I mean, how much are you going to scrutinize it though? Unless you notice a significant body composition change, or if you look at your overall diet and this is one of 7 or 8 other things that are also imbalanced in this way, then one a day even probably isn't that bad for you. I mean, that falls in the 20% for me of the 80-20 deal.
Right.
And I even
Your
break down the 80.
20% doesn't have to be like pizza and bourbon. Your 20% can be your bar and, I don't know, a sliver of cake, whatever.
Yeah, and I mean, I even break down the 80-20 thing to individual meals, because there's a lot of times where you'll have something not great in the beginning of the day, and then you just write off the rest of the day. But if you treat each meal like an 80-20, you're like, all right, well, it's got a lot of protein, it's got a little bit too much fat, but I guess I'll go with it. And the next meal, try to balance out of 80-20 also. And that taking smaller chunks like that can be a little bit more helpful, I guess.
Well, I love too how Megan Lautz, the Rescue RD, addresses that. If you're in a basketball team and you play real bad the first quarter, you're going to come back and you're going to try to do better the
Yeah.
subsequent quarters. You're not going to write off the whole game. So that's kind of how
I,
I think of my meals too.
I forgot to pull it up, actually. That was part of my nutrition SOG talk that I gave a couple years ago, was putting archetypes to the different firehouse personalities when it comes to eating. And one of them was the Titanic, which was like,
The sinking ship.
yeah, if you get a call anywhere between 7:05 in the morning and 8:05 in the morning, the whole day is screwed. And we might as well just order pizza because the whole day is jacked up now, because we got training at some point this afternoon, and we'll go on a couple more calls at some point. So we might as well not even try. So let's just sink the whole ship.
Right
And
off
then,
the whole damn day.
yeah, this shift is screwed. And another one was, let's see, we had a guy who, so this one was rearranging the chairs on the Titanic while it's going down. That was the second person. So this is the person that would sit there and argue the nutritional value of peanuts versus almonds, and lecture the entire shift while he was making his way through a personal cheesecake. So he was sitting there holding court and demonizing, like you said, demonizing a food. I think he was talking down on peanuts and just just boasting about how great almonds are. And it was one of those, I can't remember, Eli's or something like that, where they have the probably 12 individual little slices, And just while he was talking for about half an hour, just kind of went through one little slice and then the next little slice, and kind of made his way through a quarter of that bad boy. So that's the person that rearranges the chairs on the Titanic as it's going down. They're paying too much attention to things that don't matter while the ship is
I love
sinking.
it.
And then I can't remember. I had a few others, but I can't remember off the top
You
of
got
my
to
head.
repurpose that content. I was just listening to a Shantae podcast where she was talking about creating content and not running out of it, and then just like repurposing the stuff, because once is never. People have to hear the same thing a bazillion times before they get it.
Yeah, I'll look it up now. I'm really paying the price for never cleaning my computer or putting stuff on my hard drive, because it is limping along. So I'll try to pull it up and If I can find it and pull it up, I'll bring it up
Hey,
as we start
I
talking
got a
about
guy
this.
though. When you need a new computer, you call up this guy and he actually tells you like what the best deal is and where to get it.
He
You want
tells
me
you
to
all
give
the,
you, yeah, you
yeah,
want me to give you his number?
that's one thing I'm really good at is telling people the things that they should buy based on what I would like to buy. Like I would love to buy the computers I tell people to buy.
This computer that, remember, I broke my computer at Neurosports in 2000, I think it was 2019, like at the conference.
Mm-hmm.
And you did research behind the scenes. And by the time I was done with the first day, you had sent like, go to Costco, order this one. And by the time I got home, it was waiting for me in the locker at Costco. Good
That's
job.
great. I'm really good at spending other people's money.
It
I
wasn't
gift
that
money.
much though. I think it was under $400 and it's
Oh,
amazing.
that's the whole point. Yeah, I didn't say just to spend a lot of money, but I'm really good at spending other people's money. It could be on very small increments, but it's kind of a gift I have. Okay, now for nutrition and spring for change. Let's see. We can just blast this right in the episode. I mean, ready? Hey everyone, it's Chris from S4C Fitness and Annette's here, and we've been talking about stuff, and we're gonna keep talking about stuff. And it's week 3, topic 2 of Spring for Change. We're talking about nutrition. Remember that Spring for Change is a mental health initiative we run in April of every year, and we're doing that right now. We're going to talk today about ways that our nutrition as firefighters and medics and first responders affects our mental health. Of course, it will be a loose conversation about that because it's hard to have hard and fast rules in our profession, our lifestyle, but we'll do our best. So Annette, my nutrition SOG slide deck popped up. So why don't you give us a little bit of something to talk about while I look through these slides and find the ones I'm looking for? Go ahead. Anything you want to talk about?
Well, I'm actually going to tell you a little story of something that just happened this morning, and it isn't directly related to nutrition, but it was such a good experience. I wanted to share it with everyone that's listening. So, I've been having intermittent issues with my hearing, and it's not a ringing in my ears, so it's not like a tinnitus, or I wouldn't call it a tinnitus, but it's like a buzzing in my left ear. So, at certain tones or when certain people are talking in our headphones, my ear starts just it goes crazy and I can't even have the headphone on. So anyway, I made an appointment in like February. I had to wait 2 months. I just went today. And I had such a good experience at this office because although they kept me waiting 40 minutes to start my appointment, once I was in there, they were so attentive, and they did such great testing and such great explanation. But here's the thing that I want to get to. The doctor said, "We didn't find anything wrong with your ears, other than the fact that they're size of an infant's ears. They're so tiny they had to like use pediatric crap on my ears. Um,
That's gross.
we didn't find anything wrong. But here's the thing: the symptoms that you're describing could be from sleep deprivation or maybe stress. Are you experiencing a lot of stress in your life right now?" He actually asked me about my nutritional intake, and he asked me about do I exercise and all of that stuff, which was great. And I told him, I said, that's such an amazing conversation to have with your patients. And of course, I gave him all of the, yeah, I sleep as well as I can off duty, and I eat quite well. And I gave him all those things. And so that led him to say, well, you know what? Since you're telling me that this is probably not stress related, we're going to do a little bit of imaging and make sure your brain stem's intact, which I have a feeling it's not. And that might be the problem. But I just wanted to kind of shout that guy out because that it was an amazing experience. And it just reinforces how important this stuff actually is to not only our mental health, but our physical health. That's what I got for you.
So, do you think do you think on your next visit with him, do you expect him to bring up those factors again, or do you think what would you say if he was like, "Hey, I just want to check in again. I know the first time we talked, you weren't concerned about stress being a factor in this, but maybe did you think of something? And could we redress that, or would you be like, no, dude, I told you that's not the issue."
You know what? He was so comprehensive that I have a feeling. So I told him right away what my background was when he started asking these questions. Because most people, you say, "Do you eat well?" And they say, "Oh, yeah, yeah, I eat pretty good." And that means I have fast food 5 days a week and pizza 3 nights a week. And that's pretty good. But once I told him kind of what my background was and what I do for a living, he sort of let that lie, so to speak. So I think he'll check in with me about it again, but I don't think he'll hammer it like he might with a typical patient.
Yeah.
But I'm actually going to be much more aware of my stress level in the next few weeks before I get this MRI and just kind of see if it is correlated.
That's good. You should, and then watch it all go out the window when they put you in a coffin that sounds like it's getting crushed around you. That'll help your stress level immensely.
Right? Buzzing, 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 make it stop.
I thought you were going to say it's a brain issue, but I don't know.
I mean,
Maybe all the screaming in your internal screaming is getting muffled by your tiny baby ears, and it's just creating a little reverberation in there. You ever think of that?
I have thought of everything, but but I've just, it's funny. I've started to avoid the things consciously or subconsciously avoid the things that irritate it. If I walk into a crowded room at the firehouse with a whole bunch of people having typical firefighter conversations, I just turn around and walk out because I know it's going to kill my ears. So I'm just avoiding the things that exacerbate the problem.
Well, as much as you want to hang out with Nathan, then this might be the wrong time in his life to be around him because he is nonstop talking about nothing in general, and half of it is not. He's got a GCS of like 4 because you can't understand what he's saying and he won't follow commands, and he's got the incomprehensible speech going on right now. So it might be a little. You can handle him in small doses and in open spaces, but close quarters might be a little much for you right now.
Thank you for the warning.
All right, so I got my nutritional SOG thing popped up, and it's bringing back some memories. So I'll use this as my portion. Do you remember what you were talking about with nutrition when we did our intro episode? What points you wanted to kind of emphasize?
Absolutely. My big thing is we have to remember that the gut is the second brain, so to speak. So a lot of neurotransmitters are created in the gut. And if we're not eating a good, healthy, whole food, diverse nutritional intake, I almost said diet, I hate that word, but diverse nutritional intake, then we're not doing justice to our gut. And so for firefighters, you know, it's difficult. I get it. We're on duty. We're trying to just get something to put in our faces so that we're not starving to death. But simple things like upgrading the quality of your protein. So instead of having a sausage every single day or the 70% ground beef, upgrading the quality of your protein when you can afford it. And then just fruits and vegetables, a wide variety of fruits and vegetables. And if you're not a fruits and vegetables eater, start with one. Start with one you can tolerate. If you can tolerate a banana, start with a banana and go from there. Um, and and then just thinking about keeping the hydration levels in our body optimal, not only for our functioning, our metabolic processes, but for if you're dehydrated and you go into a fire, so now we're increasing your core temperature, bad things happen under dehydration and core temperature increases. And those are mostly physical, but we're encompassing mental and physical here. So that was kind of my take home. The gut's really important. Feed it diversity and quality, and then hydration is super important in our line of work.
I mean, that pretty much wraps it up.
All right, next episode.
I guess so. Cut this bad boy off.
No, I love your analogies though. I want to hear them.
Oh, of the diet people. So the only one I didn't have on there was the human bowling ball, and it's a picture of. Imagine those big inflatable spheres that people can get into. They're like 10 feet tall or I don't know, 8 feet tall.
Yes.
And it looks like something you can buy, and it's a giant inflatable lane, like a bowling lane for that human bowling ball, and there's pins at the end of it, and that's an archetype. So it says the human bowling ball, and then I have the caption underneath it: full speed ahead, regardless of the consequences. That was a conversation I had of like someone who's almost like openly defiant of what they know they should be doing, and not only they're going to make it a point to go against it, but they're going to go against it at such force that they're going to make an example of themselves. So like, this is a person that when you're looking to dump out the coffee pot at 7:00 at night, they're like, no, I'll have coffee. Like, why would you drink coffee this late? It doesn't affect me. It's no big deal. And then they'll have a cup just despite the fact that you're going to dump it out and call them weak for not wanting to drink coffee at 7:00 at night. So that's another type of person. I have the cartoon of the dog sitting in the room that's on fire.
Oh, I love that one.
And it says, this is fine. Everything's fine. And I have misery loves company. And this is kind of a knock on the crew. This is where if you have one or two health conscious, quote unquote, health conscious people in your crew, and uh, the rest of the crew is not, and they're almost the human bowling ball type, out to almost destroy your efforts because you like something, so they're going to tear it down now. They're going to try to get you to buy into their terrible food selections for the day and guilt you into it because they want you to be as miserable as they are, and so that's a crew um, obligation, a crew. What's it called? I don't know. They lean on
Like,
you and make you do things you don't want to. Not
oh, peer
harassment.
pressure.
Yeah, peer pressure. That's
Oh my
probably a more
gosh, that
appropriate
was a
word.
hard word.
Now, you brought up a word, and I have a slide in this here also of diet and how much you don't like the actual word diet. And coincidentally, in my memories from 2 years ago, Spring for Change, the diet versus diet slide came up today. So I think it's worth revisiting. And there's two definitions for diet, and one is a noun and one is a verb, I think, if I'm thinking of the correct slide. But here's the two definitions for diet. The first one is the kinds of food that a person, animal, or community habitually eats. Okay? So that's what you eat because that's what's there and that's what your community does. The second definition is a special course of food to which one restricts itself either to lose weight or for medical reasons. That's the one that you pay for, or you're referred to, or you have to buy special equipment or pay a subscription to, or make somebody money by doing. And the whole point of that was to say that you don't need to look for a diet. You already have one. What we need to do is evaluate your diet and then see if we can adjust it slowly but surely.
No, no, no. Here's the thing. Remember that Garfield cartoon? Diet is die with a T.
You like lasagna, I know that. I remember that much about Garfield.
Well, and the other additional thing to think about is that if you are going against, well, I'll use the word cultural. If you're going against your cultural norm for what you're eating, so to speak. So there's a cultural norm in like Hispanic eating style. There's a cultural norm for Asian eating style, right? If you're trying to fight against your cultural norm, it's going to be more difficult for you in the long run because you're trying to fight against what you've grown up eating. So now apply that to the standard American diet.
Mm-hmm.
We're teaching our children to eat that way. And now, as they grow up and they're becoming overweight and obese or unhealthy, now they're trying to fight against their cultural norm. So we have to make our cultural norm diet more healthy in the first place in this country, I think.
I even settle for just less damaging in general. Like more healthy is good to think about. I would say less damaging, like less outwardly and obviously damaging. I think is a good place to start. Um, Now to illustrate this point, I have a picture of the Station One mascot, which is Mr. Figgins the squirrel. And now Mr. Figgins the squirrel eats our leftovers, and he was some guys on the crew made him a tiny little squirrel picnic table and put the station logo on top of it. And then each day we see what the crew before us has left behind, and we throw it out to Mr. Figgins the squirrel, and he goes bananas. And so in this, I have a picture of Mr. Figgins and his family on the deck of the fire department eating leftover spaghetti. Now, here's the question with that. Okay, here's the one that I posed to the people in the seminar, which is if you take a squirrel and you put it in a supermarket and let it have free reign, right? Their natural diet consists of like nuts and berries and small bugs and stuff, right? If you put it in a supermarket and give it free reign, is it going to run to the peanut aisle or the dried cricket aisle, or is it going to run to the closest thing, taste it, and see if it likes it, and then go on to the bakery and see if it likes that, and sit in a pie for the next 8 hours and eat that? So if they had access to more different food, would they eat it? And that's the answer is yes, and that's an obvious answer because Mr. Figgins is sitting on the picnic table eating spaghetti, which you would never find growing from a tree, except for at Station One. So that whole talk is just to say that listen, you got a diet. All we have to do is break it down a little bit, see what it consists of, and then make little tiny changes, like you're always saying, to maybe improve it. And then you don't have to pay anybody anything. You can just keep on doing you and make some good changes.
Moderation is key. When we try to swing too far away from what we've been doing, we're able to do it short term. We talked about it last week, the 75 hard or the whole 30. We're able to do those things short term. But as soon as they're over, we're back to doing what we've always done: wash, rinse, and repeat. How many times in your life are you going to do 75 hard?
None. Oh, like hypothetically, uh, once,
Hypothetically.
once a year, as many
Or
times as I'll
more.
do Whole30. Yeah,
Right.
also probably zero. Well, all right. So I was going to go into specific protein suggestions for amount of it. I don't know if I want to do that. I think we're doing good with just the general idea of this. If you have anything else you want to throw in there, we've been on for about 20 minutes. You wanna put one more thing in there? We'll wrap it up.
Yes. Just wrap your head around the fact that this is a long game. And if you can make that one sustainable change, make it easy. Let it be a simple change. Let it be adding berries to your whatever you eat in the morning. Let it be, I'm going to improve the quality of my protein choices. Just let it be simple, but then stick to it. And once you've got that, then worry about the next change. That's where you get the sustainability for life and the you don't have to hop on and off the wagon repeatedly. That's all I got.
Um, I'm going to go back on what I said. And I can always edit this to be before you gave your kick-ass summary there. I found two slides that are other people's studies that I feel comfortable using for protein. Here's the first one. Okay, higher protein intakes, and it says 2 to 3 times the protein RDA recommended dietary allowance of zero point 0.8 grams per kilogram per day can enhance fat-free mass preservation, particularly when combined with exercise. So that's saying that if the RDA is zero point 0.8 grams per kilogram of protein, you can get up to 3 times that, and you're going to have benefits. The second one I have here on protein is a little bit longer. Healthy aging, appetite regulation, weight management, and goals align with athletic performance. It also improves satiety. How do you say that word?
Just like that, satiety.
Satiety, brain trauma, and leads to greater reductions in body weight and fat mass compared with standard protein diets. We can find no evidence-based link between higher protein diets and renal disease or adverse bone health. Regardless of my speaking errors through that, there's been a lot of hubbub in the past decade or so about too much protein killing your kidneys. I'll put these two studies somewhere up this week where you can see that you can have more protein than you think. And if you focus on protein, it's going to help out your diet in the long run. Now, here's the point I want to make. And this is another slide in there towards the end of the presentation. It says, why should I care? Well, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings with this. My goal here is not to call anybody out. Everybody has a job to do, right? And we're seeing that effects of that on a scale like we never have before. And not everybody's job is harmonious with everybody else's job. Now, there was a study in here called Health Concerns of the U.S. Fire Service: Perspectives from the Firehouse. And it basically said, it went out and polled a bunch of firefighters and said, what are you worried about with your health? What they came back with was concerns about cancer, cardiovascular disease, importance of and barriers to physical fitness, food culture, hey, brought up something, psychological stress resulting from repeated exposure, trauma, sleep disruptions, injuries, and risk for infectious diseases. Now, it goes on to say, we understand that firefighters are concerned about those things. Here's what we have to know that. Unfortunately, these concerns are often in contrast with efforts by local governments to limit their financial liability. Now, what does that mean? Let me pose that question to you, Annette. When I say people are worried about these things, and the conclusion of this study is that unfortunately these concerns are often in contrast with efforts by local governments to limit their financial liability, what do you think that means?
I'm going to guess, I haven't read this study exactly, but I'm just going to guess it's saying that the departments or the governing bodies are trying to get away from liability for cancer, things that would be presumptive. So, cancer, heart disease, things like that. Am I right?
Exactly right. It goes on to say, for illnesses presumed to be caused by occupational exposures and long-held traditions in the fire service. Here's what it means to me. And I'm going to read into this a little bit. You hit it with the presumptive stuff for sure. If a department addresses it and identifies it as an issue and they don't take steps to remedy it, they could be on the hook for negligence, or liability at least. A lot of departments, unfortunately, would rather just turn a blind eye to it and pretend it doesn't exist than get themselves in the trick bag of trying to help, with varying results and varying degrees of liability. Now, the takeaway from all this isn't to say that it's them versus us, or we're all on our own, or anything like that. The point of me putting this in the nutritional talk is that we're going to have to take a higher level of personal responsibility when it comes to this stuff, because it's one thing that we actually do have control over. The stations in the department aren't giving us money for our meals. They have no say in what we eat. The schedule dictates how difficult it is to eat for that day, but we can set ourselves up for success. And if we expect the city or the local government or the department to come in and rescue us from our own bad decisions, then we're gravely mistaken. This isn't us versus them thing. It's a us versus us thing. And we need to make a little bit better decisions, like Annette said, over time, and realize that we are going to be the greatest contributors to our own health, and to start considering that when we're making our health and our food decisions, specifically for this talk. But in general, everybody's got a job to do, and we have to understand that, and we have to do our job the best we can. So we have to set ourselves up for success. What do you think about that?
I think those are powerful words, and I like them a lot. And I have something else to say about protein now. Can I say
Good.
it now?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you talked about the RDA of protein, which we know is not optimal. And you talked about the study that 2 to 3 times the RDA in active adults is beneficial.
Mm-hmm.
But there's actually a great study out there out of Dr. Antonio's lab from Nova Southeastern, where he fed his test subjects 5 times the RDA of protein. So 5 times 0.08 is 4 grams per kilogram, roughly 2 grams per pound per day. So
Mm-hmm.
very high in terms of the RDA. That's very high. And not only did they have positive results, other than their pocketbook, right? How expensive is it to eat that much protein? But they had positive results, but also no issues with kidney function, no issues with anything. So
Right.
even up to 2 grams per pound per day was seen to be safe in that study. So protein is not the enemy.
It's
Eat
not
it.
the enemy.
Eat
Yep.
it all.
It's not the enemy. Now, the pizza surrounding the sausage, which has protein in it, may be the enemy, but that's a different topic for a different day. That's more of the cultural talk than specific macronutrient talk. All right. I think that's a good place to cut this one off. If you guys need more information, we definitely haven't hit the limit of what we're able to give out for free or for to a generic audience of first responders, but we're at about our digestible time limit. How about that for a title on it? So if you'd like more of this, let us know. We can always do another episode. If you want to talk to us individually or have us out or have us teach, you can definitely inquire about that too. Go to our social medias and hit us up. I'm at Fourth Shift Fitness. Ooh, man, I am not having a stroke, but I can't get my mouth out of the way today. At Fourth Shift Fitness, 4TH Shift Fitness, and that is at Fire Rescue Wellness on Instagram. If you go to the Fourth Shift Fitness website, you'll see the episode page, and there's a Buy Me a Coffee button. That's usually for me. This month in April during Spring for Change, it's for a charity, so give to that. I don't know. Be a Fourth Shift. Talk to you guys soon. What are you thinking, that? All good?
AZ's out.
Okay, bye-bye.